How are you today?
Morena, I'm very good, thank you, Lisa.
Lovely to see you. This morning, episode 2 of our podcast, we are talking about resolving issues early. And we just thought we'd talk a bit about the background to resolving issues early and the kind of context that you might want to have in place, which will involve a bit of attention towards good faith. And Judy, would you like to explain what the concept of good faith is to you in employment relationships?
Well, I think there's been whole papers written about good faith, but in very general and principled terms, I guess it's really being open and transparent with each other, and this is from both employer and employee perspective, open communication between each other so there's no surprises, and basically as simple as treating each other with respect.
Yeah. And I think what we want to talk about this morning too is to normalise talking about perhaps uncomfortable issues, or issues that are maybe not so comfortable before they turn into bigger problems, and that problems and indeed conflict is part of the landscape in employment relationships. It's not particularly anything to be shied away from, and if issues are dealt with early, they can almost always be resolved and not turn into personal grievances and workplace disruption.
That's right. And it's totally unrealistic to expect that in an employment environment that there would be no conflict, because actually we're dealing with humans, and where there's humans, there's different perspectives on issues, and things can be misinterpreted. So it's really important that you feel that comfortable in bringing issues to the forefront, and as an employer addressing those issues when they arise.
One of the ways that we've been talking about, Judy, is how these issues can be addressed informally in the first instance. But we have a little scenario of perhaps an issue that wasn't dealt with in a particularly constructive way. And then we'll probably go on and we definitely will go on and contrast it with a more helpful conversation. In this scenario, I'm the manager, and Judy is my employee, and Judy has a request that she wants to ask of me, I believe.
So it's Friday morning, and I've just seen the manager, and I say, "Oh, hey, uh, I just wanted to let you know I'm leaving at 3 this afternoon. I've got to go and watch my children play cricket, and they really expect me to be there, so I'm leaving at 3."
Oh, Judy, I'm just on my way to a meeting with my manager, but you won't be able to leave. We're really under the pump with the Jones job, and look, I don't think it would set a really good precedent to the other team members if you were taking off early on a Friday. I don't. I
But
don't
I've
think.
done my bit. I've completed everything I need to do on that job, and I'm just waiting for Bob to do his bit. So I've done it all. I've worked really hard this week, and I'm on the assumption that I'd just be able to go to this game at 3.
Well, I think, Judy, that might be part of the issue in that it was an assumption, and I'm not, we can't accommodate your request at this late stage. I think that you won't be able to go to the cricket. We're really needing you to help finish off that Jones job.
But when Peter was my manager, this was fine. It happened all the time.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I don't have oversight of what happened when Peter was here, but look, I've just got to pop into this meeting now with my manager. So have a good weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.
Well, I won't be here. I'll be leaving at 3.
Right. Okay. Well, then we'll have to deal with that on Monday as well.
Very
Okay. Right.
unsatisfactory.
How are you feeling about that conversation, Judy?
Well, just that, very unsatisfactory. Everybody's left hanging in the air. there's no certainty and there's a certain lack of good feeling about it.
Likewise, I think the manager would be feeling a little bit taken by surprise, a little bit gazumped, and they didn't really have an option other than the direction that they went, which was to not allow it. So I think that little interchange has given rise to a whole bunch of other problems, which could include, Judy's disengagement. Possibly Judy won't be very happy and will be talking to the rest of the team about how unreasonable her manager was.
That's right. And just as an example, and just doing that little scenario, my heartbeat's risen. So, the tension rises. And just as you're saying, I'm probably now going to go and say, I can't believe what that manager's just done to me. They've said I can't go, and it's my kid's cricket game. How unfair is that? I've worked so hard this week. And you, Tom, you were able to go to watch that game the other week with your kids. So I just feel really it's unfair, being discriminated against. I bet you it's because she doesn't like my kid's school.
Right. Yeah. So, and the manager will have no insight into any of that thought process. But the manager, as you were describing your heart rate going up, the manager's stress levels will be going up too, and
Yes,
the manager
right.
will be thinking, "Oh my goodness, Judy, she's such a lovely person and such a high performer, and now will the Jones job ever be finished, and am I going to get into trouble with my manager when Judy possibly raises a personal grievance against me for discrimination of some kind?" So it's the optics on all of it, and the net effect of that conversation are really unhelpful to the individuals and the overall workplace. So
I think that issue around it affecting and impacting the overall workplace is really important, but especially if it's a smallish team and people get into a situation where they might take sides, and then that sort of overrides everything else that is happening in the office that day, and that's the topic of conversation that everyone's turning their attention to. So it's very disruptive. Can be very disruptive.
Can be very disruptive, yeah, to an otherwise healthy, functioning team.
Exactly.
And people that are otherwise happy and content in their employment. So thinking about talking about issues before they become bigger problems, how might we have approached that conversation differently? In a good faith way, as we were talking about earlier at the beginning of the podcast.
Well, I think firstly it wouldn't happen on the day that so you'd probably want to give the manager a bit of time. You'd like to make sure that the manager had a clear headspace to listen to your requests. So you might ask for some time just to have a chat about something, just to raise a little issue or a request. And then you might say something like, I would really like to be able to take to leave at 3:00 on Friday so that I can watch my kids' cricket game. It's the last game of the season. I think they're going to get an award, or possibly, and they've really asked. They said it's really important for them if I could be there, so I'd really like to go. I've worked really hard on this project. I know that you've got timeframes around that, and I've done everything I need to do on that. The next bit's with another member of the team. It's his part, and he's going to work on that now, and it should be ready by Monday.
Mm-hmm. And I think as a manager, what would be really helpful for me, as you've said, is that you raised it ahead of time so that I didn't feel surprised, and I had time to talk to whoever I needed to talk to jiggle the schedule, to make sure that it wasn't setting any kind of precedent, just to get my ducks in a row, and to come back to you with a considered response. Even if I was to say no, it would be, I think it would be less disruptive and less kind of punitive to you if I was able to give you some good reasons why it couldn't happen, or whether we're exercising special discretion, for a one-off to make it clear that that this wasn't going to be a taking
That's
off
right.
on Friday early regular kind of thing because of cricket. So yeah, I think that the ability to have some time to think about it would be really, really helpful for the manager. Yeah.
And probably to give a time frame for your response, so it isn't on the day or the morning either.
To give you some certainty and reassurance that I'm considering it. I've heard you. I'm validating. It's. I can hear that that's really, really special for you. And it sounds really exciting. However, I'll need some time to get back to you, and I'll get back to you by 5 p.m. This evening. So yeah, I think that would.
Thanks for that.
Be. That's okay, Judy. Of course, you can go to the cricket. So we just talked about that, raising things early, where there's a conversation where both parties listen to each other, where parties validate each other's point of view, where questions of clarification are asked and answered if possible at that time, and asking, is there anything else that you want to talk about? Are there any ways that spring to mind about how you can kind of operationalize these kind of good faith obligations? How you can create a culture where floating issues, bringing issues to the fore doesn't create defensiveness or panic or conflict?
Well, I think it starts probably with setting the scene right at the very beginning of your employment relationship and being very clear and certain around expectations. And I think those can be, I think it highlights the importance of having a very clear employment agreement where you have your job roles, your hours of work, the salary, and various other things which are requirements, of course, for everyone to have a written employment agreement containing those certain terms. Also to have policies, I guess, that such as a code of conduct, so that the expectations of behaviour are set out and are very clear, and should include things like a zero tolerance towards harassment and bullying, so that workplaces are safe places to operate, and people can work there without fear of those sorts of things happening to them during the day, and the expectation is on all parties to adhere to the code of conduct. I think that's a really important element to operationalising, as you say, good faith, because your expectations about behaviour, communication, your sharing information, all of those things can be embedded in your employment agreement and in your code of conduct as well.
Exactly. I'm interested in a thread that's been coming through to me recently, and in particular from young people in employment, in that they can sometimes be shy or reticent to raise issues that are normal everyday issues. As you say, people are humans, and there's bound to be conflict and niggly little problems along the way. But there can be a fear of retaliation. There seems to be something in the mix at the moment that young people feel that if they raise these smaller issues, then it might be held against them in their career progression, or them maintaining their employment if they're on a fixed term agreement, something like that. Is there any other ways that you can think of about how employers and employees can normalise raising of issues? For example, check-in meetings, or
that's a really good idea, to ensure that there's opportunities for regular catch-ups between manager and their employees, one-on-one, so issues can be raised without fear of other what it's like for or other people's opinions coming to the fore. So, real good one-on-one catch-ups where you can raise issues or talk about expectations before an issue arises. And also it builds up a relationship of trust between the manager and the employee so that the employee knows that has more confidence in raising issues should it arise outside of that meeting.
And what about team meetings? Are they of any use for housekeeping issues or things like that?
I think that you're absolutely right. Of course, you've got to be careful not to have meetings just for the sake of meetings, but regular catch up with the teams ensures that the messages from the management perspective are being everybody's receiving the same message. They're modelling behaviour that is courteous and respectful, so everybody's treated in the same way. And the messages are, as I say, consistent, so there's no surprises.
Another thing that I've been thinking about is, raising issues and then nothing happens. Someone might be really brave and raise something that's going on for them, and then it appears to them that it has disappeared into a black hole.
Yes, and
yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
The impact of that can be very undermining for somebody, especially if they've mulled over something for a while before they raise it. And particularly, they need to have the confidence that they're not being that they're being treated seriously. So I guess it's on the management side once they've received an information or an issue's been brought up with them that they actually do consider it and do get back to the employee, even if they don't have a particular answer, just to say, I'm just dealing with this, I'm talking to so-and-so, and I'll get back to you at this point. And I think you talked about it before, I'm really hearing what you've said, so acknowledging that it is an issue for that person, even if in the overall scheme of things it doesn't seem very important to the manager. They have to recognise that it was important enough for that employee to raise with them. So acknowledgement of that is really important too.
Rather than minimising and just saying, oh,
that's
well,
right.
that's Bob, that's how Bob behaves, or,
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So acknowledgement and circling back and perhaps updates,
Yes.
so that the person knows that whatever they have raised has some intention on it and hasn't just fallen
That's
into
right.
that lacuna, that big black hole.
That's right.
So, Judy, do you have any concluding thoughts about how people can resolve issues early in the workplace?
I think we've covered all the things around setting a context and environment that makes bringing issues to the management's attention easier and less fraught for an individual, and ideas from a management perspective of how they might address those issues or respond to them. And I think having an environment with all those elements around clear agreements, clear code of conduct, clear understanding and expectation of behaviour towards each other really helps.
Thank you so much, Judy. That will conclude our podcast number 2, and we'll start work on podcast number 3, which will be published in due course, and we'll probably go into some more scenarios about keeping the employment relationship positive and productive.
Yes, and we'd welcome any questions, and we'd hope to address those in future podcasts as well.
Thanks, Judy.
Thank you, Lisa.
Noho ora mai. Take care.